welcome to the Master of Unlocking Television of the Year, or TOTY, as we like to call it.
TOTY.
Our mascot is a funfetti cake with white frosting and sprinkles on top, which is thoroughly being enjoyed by Jason and Caleb.
Our mascot is almost gone.
We know our mascot was eligible. The mascot was not donated by Mel's Tacos, just to be clear.
Oh, God.
Forgot about Mel's Tacos.
Oh, man, me too.
That's right.
All right. So we are going to, as our tradition goes, go through our 41 nominations for the year of television shows.
Check out last year's TOTY with all 41 TV shows. That's not a thing. It doesn't exist. Don't look.
But just any of our OTs will have 41 nominations.
I think it's going to be funny when we do the movie of the year, and since you guys have watched like 2 movies, so it's just me listing 35 movies.
You go every week, so our MOTIs are, I saw what? Maybe, I saw 4 movies of 2017, I think, maybe. Maybe a couple. If you include family movies, maybe a little more than that. Actually, no, I don't think I watched any of those. I don't know. I might be up to 10 if I actually added it up. Because I watched a few on a plane. But we're not talking about movies of the year. We're talking about television.
Lady Bird is Master of Unlocking. It's a movie of the year.
There you go. All right,
calling it right there.
That's fine.
Fair enough.
You've spoken.
It's
official.
Spoken.
Yep, stamped, approved, done.
All right, in alphabetical order, our nominations for TV shows of the year, the TOTYs, are American Dad, Season 14.
You don't have to worry about seasons, because some of them get messy.
Okay.
So
all right, American Gods, American Vandal. A lot of Americans. But actually, oddly enough, not the Americans this year.
Wait a second, The Americans isn't on there?
No, did you watch The Americans?
Yeah, it's got to be on
Okay, all right, The
now
Americans.
we got to delete something.
Wait, well, is it under the? No, it is not.
there. It's not on there?
All right.
I can't believe it's not on there.
All right, then we are losing one that we... Okay. Caleb, add in The Americans and remove something else while I'm rattling through the list.
Well, okay.
Angie Tribeca, Baskets, Better Call Saul, Big Little Lies, Black Mirror, Bosch, Castlevania, Curb Your Enthusiasm, DuckTales, Woo, Fargo, Game of Thrones, Glow, Gotham, Homeland, Into the Badlands, Luther, Mindhunter, Mr. Robot, Nathan For You, Orange is the New Black, Preacher, Rick and Morty, Search Party, Silicon Valley, South Park, Stranger Things, Superstore, The Americans, The Crown, The Defiant Ones, The Deuce, The Good Place, The Leftovers, The Path, Trial and Error, Twin Peaks, Veep, and You're the Worst.
You mistakenly said Black Mirror, which is not on the list.
Oh, I'm sorry.
To get back down to 41 and delete it.
That technically was a 2018 show. Sorry, that was disqualified.
No, it's just I've only watched 2 episodes and I haven't really liked either one. So
okay, that's fair.
There you go.
All right,
Okay.
so it is now off the list. All right, should we? How do we want to do this? Do we want to go alphabetically through this and kind of, or do we go? Do we start with some shows that only one of us maybe watched, and at least say their piece because they're probably not going to make a final cut if not all of us watched it.
Yeah.
So if we kind of look at that as we start down the list, Caleb, tell me about Angie Tribeca.
Well, are we just like cutting things?
I don't know. Are we going to start cutting? I mean, do you want to cut things right away, or do you want to?
Do you want to talk about each individual show on its merits, or do you want to just start?
I kind of think we should stick to our GOTY plan of just like let's give stuff its due and then take it off one at a time.
Okay, so go around the horn.
And
if you want to, so kind of go with something you want to cut first that you're willing to cut, but it's something you watch that you know that it's probably not going to survive.
Yeah, I think. Okay. I think that's how I envision this.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to cut anything, so...
Okay, that's fair. All right, well,
It's the same problem as GOTY.
The problem here is that Caleb watches everything, and Jason's close.
I think Jason might watch more than me, actually.
Oh, really? As I was looking through this,
We didn't add them up.
Oh, okay,
so,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's true.
And I'm
maybe true.
way off. Well, I probably have watched a quarter of what you guys have watched.
So let me start with, let's start.
Do you want me to start?
Yes. Let's start with Logan.
Okay, let's start with one.
Logan's
I think
cut.
that I think we can probably get rid of just because of substance, even though I think it is still pretty good. But I'm gonna go DuckTales.
Okay.
DuckTales.
I like DuckTales.
I like DuckTales a lot, but it's a kids show.
Yeah.
It's entertaining for what it is. The fact that they rebooted a show. Not many shows get rebooted and actually work, especially a cartoon. But
From the 90s.
from the
almost.
90s, yeah. And they added another character, and she wasn't annoying. It's a girl duck that's
Wait, she wasn't in the original one?
Webby? Was she in the original?
Yeah.
Was she?
Right?
I don't know. Logan's the
I
expert.
think.
If she was, I don't remember her at all.
Maybe I'm completely misremembering.
I just don't remember her being in it at all. But there's a weird continuity with it that they're looking for Webby's mom, and that every episode kind of is its own standalone thing. But they have this one kind of goal that they're reaching toward of finding Webby's mom.
As they go on individual adventures each week.
Right. Yeah. And it's corny. But it's corny in a good way, and kids like it, and adults like it, and
It's funny. Like it's genuinely
funny.
Yeah,
Like,
it is. It's genuinely funny. I like that. I watched maybe 5 episodes of it.
there's only 10 so far.
Oh, really? Okay, I watched half of the first season then.
Yeah,
She was in the original.
she was in the original. All right, I don't. That was 20 some odd years ago.
Webigail.
Webigail.
I don't remember her.
I don't remember her at all either. I wonder if she was a major. Was she not?
Maybe
a major?
introduced later on.
And because I remember in the original cartoon in the 90s, Launchpad was like one of the major characters, and in the new one, he's very much a minor character, and it's all about the kids.
Yeah, he's not in it at all, really. Like, and I remember Launchpad all over the first iteration of DuckTales.
Yeah, and this one was just
I only watched a couple, and they seemed cute. Whatever.
Yeah,
but it's not something I was gonna sit down and watch.
If you don't have kids, you're not going to sit around and watch it. By any means.
Yeah, and that's the only reason I watched it too.
I had heard good things about it, so that's why I purposely went out and
you're like, sure, I'll watch a couple episodes. They're 20 minutes a piece,
but it's not. It's not.
It's not going to go anywhere beyond this. So, all right. So
should we pour out a piece of cake for DuckTales?
That's on you guys.
I already did.
Okay. All right. We love you, DuckTales, but you gotta go. You're not gonna make the list.
Get one last. Woo.
We just lost all of our adult listenership right away. Like these freaking jokers.
All right. So I've cut something now. Someone else.
Go around the table. Mm-hmm. Caleb, you want to do that? What's next?
Do you want to go or do you want me?
Go ahead, please.
Okay. I'm gonna cut Trial and Error.
What is that?
So this is a show on NBC. It's a comedy. It's set up. It reminds me a lot of Parks and Rec, in the way that it's shot, in the way that the characters are. The town is like, it's a very small town America. Like weird stuff happens that's just hilarious, just in the town. It's basically Jonathan Lithgow's in it.
Oh, really?
Which is already kind of a... I meant to watch it because of John Lithgow.
I didn't know that he was in it. Okay. Yeah.
And so he plays a guy that's accused of murder.
We'll talk about Lithgow in a little bit. Okay. Sorry.
No, that's fine. And he's been accused of murder, and for whatever reason, this kind of big city lawyer was assigned to him, or maybe he hired him. I don't remember. But then that person ended up not being able to do it, so he sent one of like the younger people from the firm down to this small town to defend him. And this guy has like, you can tell, he's straight out of law school, like that kind of guy. So he has no experience. He doesn't really know what he's doing, but he thinks he knows what he's doing.
That sounds.
That's the setup. There's a character, the like secretary type character has all kinds of like weird like syndromes and like things, like mental things. Like she I'm trying to think of a good example. Like for whatever reason in one of the episodes she could only walk backwards. Like, it's just all kinds of weird stuff like that. So it actually ends up being pretty funny.
Okay, it works though.
Yeah. It's set up in that mockumentary style, which I think really works for a comedy. And NBC obviously knows what they're doing.
NBC knows how to do that.
They're good at that thing.
They could bleep up Toast, NBC, but for whatever reason, those shows, they figured, like from 30 Rock to The Office to Parks and Rec, like they have figured out a way to make those work. Whereas
30 Rock's not really a mockumentary.
I know. I guess I was trying to think of like where they started succeeding with that kind. Not that style, not shot that style, but as far as sitcom success for them, which is few and far between, that it kind of starts with 30 Rock, and they've always had something like Friends. 30 Rock.
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld before that, even Frasier.
So a better example of the girl on the show that has all these weird things, she can't recognize people by their faces. So like a character will walk in and she'll to the store where she works and she'll be like, "Hi, hello, how are you? Can I help you?" And it's like, I'm the lawyer. Like, I just came in here like 30 seconds ago. Like, that kind of thing. It's pretty good.
I might try to check that out.
I would recommend it.
I think NBC usually is pretty good about leaving stuff up on demand for a long time, so that might be one that...
Yeah.
I think you can even kind of go back and watch shows that have been canceled for 5 years.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Can you go out there and get
I think you can... I'm
and
pretty sure I watched
like
the Whitney Project or saw that was like an option the other day. I was like, oh...
Is it my turn to cut?
Piece of cake out for trial and error.
For trial and error. All right. We can go ahead and cut. I knew what I wanted to nominate to be gone, but I can't remember now. That's maybe not yet. Oh, I had it, and now I lost it.
Okay.
Castlevania.
Oh, okay.
That's really animated really well. It's very short, so you can burn through all 6 episodes. It's kind of a cool little... if you're into the video game series, it's kind of a cool introduction on what you may or may not have missed, and a nice little narrative hook. Why is Dracula pissed? Because they murdered his lady, and she was just a human who was practicing dark arts, in quotation marks, for the betterment of humankind. Then the church swoops in, and it's very like... It's like this papal presence sweeps in and starts doing witch trials. They murder Dracula's wife. Then Dracula murders everyone.
Oh.
And then you just kind of like, the first episode is just Dracula murdering people and laying waste. And then there's a Belmont in a bar just randomly drinking. And he's like this drunk. So what's really cool about it is that he's not some born hero. Like, he is born a Belmont, which means he slays demons. Like, he's very like nonchalant, like, do I have to do this? Don't make me do this. And then he sees everything that's going on, and it's weird because the people are bad, but Dracula's bad. Like, everybody's bad, and for an animated show, it's pretty complex. I like that Netflix does everything. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, especially with the amount of content available.
But they do everything. That's
various
for sure.
services. They do a lot of stuff, good and bad. And I'm glad I watched it for what it's worth. But there are definitely 10 more superior shows on this list. But I would suggest, if you like animated stuff, it's not anime. It's more in that style of... It's not quite Aeon Flux or... the show that came from the people that did Aeon Flux, Alexander, if you're familiar with Alexander, which was a Adult Swim joint, like U.S. born and bred, U.S. animation, rendered here, voice acted here, like Aeon Flux was years before it. It's not quite that style, but it is definitely not an anime style, which, you know, if you're looking for something different that's not anime, that doesn't have some anime traits, it's really polished animation that isn't that. Take it off.
All right.
Pour one out for Alucard.
All right. I guess it's my turn, right?
It's Dracula backwards, go.
What?
What?
Don't say it 3 times. I don't know what happens. I think I have to take this off just because nobody else watched this.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to come off.
But it's also.
But if you don't feel super strongly about it either, then.
So You're the Worst.
Thanks. Jeez, what'd I say? What did I? Oh, the show.
The show.
The FX network show.
Yes. So You're the Worst. This season was not the best season that they've done. It was probably there's been 4 seasons now, and this was the next door season. But I don't know. It was still okay. For those who haven't watched the show, it's really just about 2 terrible people.
I think I watched the pilot and I just really didn't like it.
Right, they're just not.
I didn't
good.
like either of them.
But that's the point. You're not supposed to like them.
Yeah.
And they end up together, and then by the end of the 3rd season, they're not together, and so they're not together this entire 4th season. And it kind of gets just really, it's awkward with them not being together, and it kind of shows what their life is like without each other, which is kind of interesting, but they were at the same time it kind of drug on a little bit and just didn't. I was still thoroughly entertained by it because I still think the show is good, but it just wasn't as strong as the other seasons. And I know since you guys haven't really watched it, and as I've brought it up to you over the last 3 years, I have gotten a meh. So I guess I'm just gonna. I think I'll just let it die.
It's Logan's Breaking Bad to me. Like, I just can't make him watch it. You know?
What?
But we won't talk about it. This is
2017. We're talking
right,
here,
not
so.
2013.
Really, at this point, the reason why I haven't watched Breaking Bad is because it's just so old now. I'm not saying it's probably.
I watched it years after it. Well, not years after it came out. Like
whatever excuse you're making is not valid. It's the best show ever made.
I'm not disagreeing.
If we did a best show of all time, I think that would probably win. But okay.
When I'm trying to keep up with Game of the Year,
I understand.
and
I understand.
And the some things of the year, I can't keep up.
I understand.
Okay, Caleb,
we're getting a pile of cake on the ground now that we're pouring.
Man,
pouring
look
it
at
out.
this cake over here. It looks more delicious on the ground somehow.
We need to move a little faster if we're going to actually finish this by midnight.
Okay. Well, then maybe we should have a different strategy.
Okay.
I don't know what that strategy is.
I think it's maybe we've got to look through some of these and go, all right.
Yeah, I think the problem
fast.
here that we didn't have for Game of the Year was like a lot of this stuff one or the other of us has watched. So it's hard to cut something that only you've watched.
I'll start cutting stuff that I've only watched.
You want to do a lightning round, Jason?
Lightning round on stuff.
Hold on. Okay, so let me think about the worst, because I think Castlevania was probably the lowest on my list. I'm the only one that watched it. Mm-hmm. I'm the only one that watched Bosch. Bosch is an Amazon Prime show that's very good. Mm-hmm. It stars what's his name? He was in Lost. He was in Sons of Anarchy. His name escapes me. He's a Brit.
Why did I think Bosch had somebody else in it?
It's got Lance Reddick in it, if you're familiar with Lance Reddick. Oh, yeah. He's in it. It's like I don't even know how to describe it. There's always a big bad that he's chasing, so it's not really like murder of the week. It's kind of like procedural for an entire season, like he's chasing someone always an entire season. But the overall story is that he's obsessed with the person who killed his mother. And at the end of this previous season, which is why it's so good, is he found that killer, and it is super unsatisfying to the point where he is lost. Like his character gets lost.
The Joker did his Batman.
Yeah. So he gets a little bit lost, and he tries to then kind of soak himself into some other work, but it's not feeding him, and it causes him some trouble and makes some bad decisions. It's really good. It's vanilla and doesn't need to be on the list, but I like detective shows. I like stuff like that.
Procedural dramas.
Yeah, but not of a high quality, I guess is what I'm saying.
Like it's not just a standard Law and Order.
Right. Yeah, something a little more interesting than that. I'll cut another thing if you want me to cut something else. Mindhunter can go.
Oh yeah.
Because that bounced off with Caleb.
Boy,
did you try that?
My wife's been watching it, and
Oh,
boy,
really?
is that show
Boring.
boring.
I understand it's not for everybody.
And
The thing that kept me going on it was, and I told you this a little bit. For better or worse, I'm interested in American folklore and serial killers and stuff like that, which
you and my wife both are.
Yeah,
super
we've
into
talked about that.
serial killers.
Like, it's not this year's show, but The Jinx on HBO. We both watched that. I think that was very good.
Oh, the Jinx is amazing.
Yeah, and so I find people like that are broken kind of interesting. Like, how can you be so messed up and get away with this for so long?
When they talk to the serial
parts of the
killers,
show.
or
That is,
when there's a serial killer on the screen, it's great. I really like that show. But the 45 minutes of the show that's not that,
especially
is just
about the main three
boring.
characters. And I'm not here to say it needs to be on the list, but I will say what kept me going, and it may not be for everyone, is there's a killer who is active from the 70s all the way to the aughts. And they follow that killer, and he's the stinger at the beginning of pretty much every episode.
Like for 30 seconds, I want a little bit more of that.
Right, so what's interesting is I know they show him setting up each kill, and some of them are small, and some of them are horrific. And me knowing like his victim or victims from each scene at the beginning of the show, it was like unsettling. Because in walks him with an ADT badge, posing as an ADT guy, and I know what he did to those 4 family members in that house. And it's like, and then they go on with the show, and you're like, yeah, figure this out. This is great motivation. And the show goes on, and it's like 20 minutes later, it's just like, this is still Mindhunter, and they can't even kill that. They can't kill him. They can't even find him because he's found later by people that are totally not the focus of the show. So that doesn't make any sense to me, really, because this isn't a killer that they're chasing. Mm-hmm. They don't catch this guy.
There's no like purpose to the show. It doesn't
right.
seem like
they're not. They don't link together.
Right.
So
there are 2 things about that show for me that if kind of for whatever reason turned me off of it, or one turned me off of it for whatever reason was, but I also find it funny, was Mindhunter. The name it just reminds me of the joke from 30 Rock, Will Ferrell's show on NBC called Bitch Hunter.
okay.
I forgot about that.
He like busts out of an elevator, like kicks down a door, and he's just like got a gun, points at him, like, I'm the bitch hunter, and it's like,
Jesus. Okay.
Like, it's the dumbest thing, but it's
that
great.
sounds awesome.
And then also the main character, the actor, is Jonathan Groff.
I don't know him.
He is a musical actor, and so to see him in that role, the first thing I ever saw him in was Glee, and
I was gonna say, was he from Glee?
And oddly enough, he's also Kristoff in Frozen.
Oh, weird. Whatever's not wrong. Whatever that character's supposed to have, like Asperger's or whatever that character is
he's something
supposed to have. He's playing that character well. Like, this dude is like, he's obsessed with figuring out what's wrong with these people, and he's not exactly the most normal guy.
Right. No.
And everybody's like dealing with him like, please be normal. And he's like, I don't understand.
Man, every time I hate to just keep ragging on this show, but every time his girlfriend shows up, I'm just like, fast forward.
Yeah,
I don't want to watch this.
I understand. That show has very high highs and very low lows. So take it off the list, Lord.
All right, I think it's already gone.
Okay, good.
Boy, we talked about a show we got rid of a lot.
Okay, let's get rid of Angie Tribeca.
Okay.
I really like that show. It's the closest thing that there is on TV to Police Squad, which is probably my favorite TV show ever.
Okay, that's fair.
So I understand, like, it's not for everyone if you're not into that sort of humor.
I honestly have never given it a shot, and I probably should.
Yeah, you might actually. You're either gonna really like it, or you're gonna be like, this is really dumb.
I bet you could turn your brain on to like it. Yeah. I've liked what I've seen.
I like stupid stuff. It's like real stupid. That. Yeah,
it's very witty. It's very fast-paced, witty, and there's a lot of stuff that happens even in the background that's funny.
I just need to give it a shot. I think that's all.
I'm also gonna cut baskets because neither of you guys have watched it, and I don't feel super strongly about season 2. I think season 1 is awesome. I never thought that Zach Galifianakis would be a good actor in anything. Yeah. But he is. He's very, very good in that. And Louis Anderson he plays the mom on the show.
Been nominated for a bunch of stuff.
He's amazing at it. It's really good. What else? Now that we're cutting things quickly.
I could get rid of The Path. I'm the only one who watched that. The only reason I was interested in that is because it was Aaron Paul's next TV show after Breaking Bad.
That's what I was going to ask, is who is in that show, because I thought it was somebody. But
it's Aaron Paul's show. And it's also got, I'm forgetting her name. The wife in it, she's very good, is the wife from True Detective Logan season 1. You've seen season 1 too. Well, I can't remember her name.
Monahan.
Yes, thank you. I think she's very pretty.
Very.
Yeah, and she's very good in that. They are in a cult in Connecticut, and it's not quite Scientology. It's a little more rule than the Scientology idea, but this guy comes up in the movement called Myerism, and that show it's better than I thought it would be. I thought it would be closer to trash than not. And it's pretty good. They're conflicted. They all know that it's fake, but they won't admit it. And like when someone leaves, they do the whole hunt 'em thing. And like the main point of the show is like he leaves, but at the end of the second season, which makes it really interesting, the show's totally grounded the whole time. And at the end of the second season, he has the thing that the leader said that he had. So Aaron Paul's character thinks that he's losing his mind, but instead has powers.
Oh.
And he is now the leader of... Well, he's not the leader of the movement, but he comes back to the cult because he's like, I need to share this with you guys. But he's not like a born, like, charismatic... His character is like an introvert. He's not a born charismatic leader. So the stinger is... Wait, the show's now supernatural? Yeah, after being grounded for like 20 episodes. So it can go.
Is this on a network or a streaming service? Is it on Hulu? Okay.
Hulu. Yeah. Hulu. Another show we won't talk about at all, I guess, very good. Handmaid's Tale is a Hulu exclusive.
I bounced off of that.
Did you try it at least?
It's very, very good, but it's very, very
good.
slow.
At least one of us tried it. We say we tried it. Yeah. Cool. Okay, moving on.
I'm going to cut Nathan for you. That show has had way better seasons. There's 2 episodes this season that are incredible, and the rest are pretty mediocre.
I watched it when it first came out, and his humor just wasn't for me for whatever reason.
There's an episode where he goes on, I think it's Jimmy Kimmel. So he's going to be on Jimmy Kimmel, but he's been on other shows on late night talk shows before, and he's always super awkward because that's just how he is. Mm-hmm. So he decides this time when he goes, he's going to have a very funny story to tell on the show. So he does all this research from previous shows to find like the funniest anecdotes from, other celebrities. He compiles that list and like splices together the parts that are funny from the anecdote. And he's like, okay, I have my story written out. It's going to be great. And then instead of just going on the show and doing it, he's like, I'm going to make this actually happen so that I'm telling the truth. So it's all about him like setting up this long thing where he gets pulled over in a car that's stolen and he has drugs in his pocket and then he has to go to jail and he's like, but it's not my code. And then everybody laughs. It's really good.
Okay. It actually sounds pretty funny.
There's another episode where he helps this old guy find his long lost love from years and years and years ago. And that episode is 2 hours long, and it's like the most like genuinely like heart-wrenching thing you'll watch, because you don't really know the line between what's real on that show and what's scripted. Mm-hmm. So it's really, and the guy that he has is, you really start to feel for him towards the end of it too. So those 2 episodes are great. The rest of them are just kind of, the ones that are more formulaic of the show are kind of weak this season. So it can go from the list.
Okay. And probably just because I watched it and you guys didn't, but Orange is the New Black season 5. Did you guys ever watch any of the Orange is the New Black?
I watched season 1 and part of season 2, I think.
You really like that show, don't you?
Well, I didn't watch season 3 or 4 either, so I watched 1 and 2, and then I picked it back, and then I watched 5. The only reason my wife started watching it, so I was watching it with her, and It was. I was shocked at how good it was because of the fact that what they did was they actually there was a new security company that came in and was running the show in the prison and was just really nasty to all the women that were there. There was one really bad guy, and what happened was one of the inmates ended up dying. And
Ew.
yeah, and so they threw a huge mutiny and ended up one of them got a gun from them, and so they took over the prison.
That sounds way more interesting than anything else that's happened in that show.
Right. So the entire season, that's all the first episode.
Oh, wow.
And so the entire season is them throwing the mutiny within the prison, and there's all kinds of people who are on the outside trying to break it up and everything else, and so there's all kinds of things happening within the prison. There's the gun gets stolen from the girl who had it, and no one knows who has it. There's deals being made with people on the outside of people on the inside trying to make deals of brokering things of shortening their sentences and letting them out to help get everything moving. There's a safe room downstairs. Come to find out the big bad guy is actually like a extremely like gay guy who's into oh god, what was he into? Oh, it's gonna bother me now though. But like he lived a closeted life, and they found out about it, but it was it was actually really interesting. So it was. I just thought it was an interesting season, especially for a show that
actually kind of makes me want to keep watching that show.
And you could probably just skip 3 and 4 and then just go straight to 5. Yeah, and then see what happens there. Maybe watch like the last episode.
I always intended to watch that show. I just never. It was always like this or this, and I always chose the other thing. But
the character, they've done a lot of very good character development beyond the first 2 girls that they focused on, because and they're in season 5, they're barely in it.
Okay,
they're the sub characters.
They were already kind of tapped out on those characters,
right? And so they really focused on the group of the Latina women. Okay, and they have all of them have a very detailed backstories of why they're there, how they ended up there in the situation they're in, and it's intriguing.
Oh, I should have cut Silicon Valley a while ago. I thought this season was the weakest they've had. That show is very cyclical. They have a great idea. They're going to make a lot of money. They make a lot of money. Something catastrophic happens where they lose a bunch of money. Then they have an idea to come out of it again and make a bunch of money, and then something catastrophic happens. It's very much just...
So did they go to a tomb only to find that the bad guys got there first? I don't know.
And that was good for a couple of seasons. I was on the ride with them for that, and this season just kind of lost me with that. Just one too many times.
We can get rid of Preacher.
Oh, yeah.
I like the first season of that show, I think, more than the second season, but I think the second season is still pretty good. There are some really, really, really hilarious moments in season 2. I told Kevin about this the other day. There's a new character. He is in charge of the Order, and he's basically they're basically no one knows where God is at the end of the first episode. And at the end of it, Preacher and his gang, a vampire, his girlfriend, and Preacher, go out to find God. They're looking for God. God's MIA. And so they introduce a character who's like in charge of... They show him trying out. Like there's 20 people trying out to be like the leader of the Order. And this dude, totally vapid weirdo, makes it to the end. And so the final test is... him and this next guy, they're at a shooting range, and they both have to shoot the target right in the head. The first guy shoots the target in the head, and he's like just this Boy Scout, like, ha, I did it. And then this other character, Hatter Star is his name. He has like one glass eye, a scar. He kind of looks like Skullface from Metal Gear Solid.
Okay, sure.
He looks at the judges, and he looks at the guy, and he blows the other guy's brains out. And they go... So that's how he gets the job. And then several episodes later, the same character who's like deadpan the whole show, he talks like this. He asks one of his assistants to schedule a rape fantasy for him.
Oh, you told me about this.
And so at the end of the episode, there's a knock at his door. Hold on. hold on. All right, what? We're here to clean your office. And it's these 3 brawny dudes. He's like, no, you don't understand. I'm not a homosexual. Oh, no. He gets bent over. He schedules a conference call while he's getting railed. Oh. He's just like taking it, but he's like conducting business, and they keep coming back to it. So like he does the conference call, they do a scene, they come back, and he's still talking to the person. And then it's the end of it. He's like, thank you very much. Hey, buddy, nice to meet you. Thank you, goodbye. And at the end of the episode, he tells his assistant, I'm not homosexual. Oh. So he meant to have it the other way around, but they then turned. Yeah. So there are really dark, funny moments like that in that show that are good. But it can go, because I was the only one that watched it. It can go.
We can also cut Search Party Season 2.
How is that show?
I really like that show.
Yeah. How many episodes per season?
There's 10 episodes per season. They're only half an hour each.
Bite-sized.
So it's easy to get to. I think Season 1 is better than Season 2. Sure. Season 1, Logan, because have you even heard of it?
I've heard of it, but I don't know.
I've only seen the commercials.
It's a girl in, I think, New York City who's kind of having almost a midlife crisis, like a very early midlife crisis. She doesn't know what she wants to do with her life. And she sees that one of the girls from her high school has gone missing. So for whatever reason, she decides to coerce her friends into getting together and trying to find this girl. So season 1 is all about them trying to find this girl. And it's really captivating for how simple of a story it is. The characters are really well done. And season 2 is kind of, it pivots, and I don't want to say why because of spoilers, but it's not as good as season 1, but it's still pretty solid.
Okay.
We've still got things that need to go. Wow.
We gotta go.
Before we need to order a top 10.
Jason, you're not going to fight me about American Gods, I'm sure. So let's get rid of American Gods.
Awesome. I like that show a lot. Yeah. I needed that to be your decision.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And if you want to hear our American Gods discussion, we've had that before on our previous TV podcast.
Yeah. So. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Caleb, I don't think you'll disagree with me on this either, but South Park season 21.
This season, I'm out of love with South Park.
Really?
I am. Yeah. I fell off hard on South Park. I don't know why, but
season 20 I thought was really bad because they got a little too political.
Yeah.
And
because they thought that it was. I mean, everybody in the world thought
it was going the other way.
Right.
So this season I think was still fine.
There were episodes that were good. I really liked the tweeting.
Oh god, that episode was
hilarious.
Great. I mean, the first episode that they did with the white people flipping houses,
that was okay.
Too.
That was up there too with the better ones.
There was about. I mean, I think there was probably 11 or 12 episodes they usually do. I would say half were pretty good for me.
Okay, it's probably a little bit less for me. But.
Yeah, maybe I'll forgive them a little bit more. Matt and Trey always have a special place in my heart.
You've been with them for a long time.
Yeah.
It's the same, and Family Guy's not on this list, but it's the same reason as like I will watch Family Guy until
that's the thing. I kind of fell off all the animated
I understand
shows.
That. Like I understand how that would happen, but I will in that same way I will continue to watch it for better or worse.
Which do we need to talk about American Dad, or are we?
How passionate are you guys about that?
I think it's really funny.
I think it's really funny too. I actually started. I usually fall asleep to a random animated show before bed every night, and so I go back and forth between Family Guy, American Dad, and Simpsons.
Where American Dad is right now compared to where it was, and Family Guy and other animated television, like American Dad is really. Yeah. Really, really
I
strong.
mean, it's yeah.
I think maybe I just got oversaturated with animated shows, and maybe that's my problem. But I fell off of American Dad this season.
I watched the Father's Day episode last night, and my God, that thing's amazing. The things, I mean, the creativity that they still have for that show in this far into it. Most shows have just given up and they go to the nostalgia route at this point of, hey, remember that funny thing we did in season 3?
They still do new things on that show.
It's always new. And I don't know if they've really... The only thing they ever go back to the well on is the Christmas stuff. Yeah. And that's...
And they even reinvented that.
But it's continuity.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, it's kind of more of just here's a continuous thing. Remember that it's like, Steve killed Santa.
If you guys feel like it needs to stay for now, we can leave it for now.
I don't know. Can it stay for now?
I think it can stay for now.
Just
I'm
for
perfectly
now.
fine with it staying for now. I didn't know how strongly you felt about it.
I think that show's really genuinely funny. It always makes me laugh, and I think it's really smart too. I don't think it gets enough credit. The best thing that could have happened to it is it separated itself network away from Family Guy. Like, it's kind of on its own, and TBS is proud of what they've done with it. I think the writing is great, and I think it's really funny. So just for now, I mean, when we get down to the nitty gritty, let's see what it looks like.
Yeah, I don't dislike American Dad, but
I understand what you mean. If you're watching like 8 different animated shows,
Family Guy, and
they could
American
start to
Dad,
run together,
and The Simpsons, and South Park.
I think you guys should watch Luther. It can go. But I think you guys should watch that.
I have watched episode 1 of Luther.
What did you think?
It is next on my list. I'm in on Luther.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I think it's of a very high quality.
I do too.
There were only 2 episodes this year. It's a BBC show. It's Idris Elba, who is like, I think a lot of Idris Elba.
Great in that role too.
He's perfect for it. It's where he's from. I think he's passionate about that project, and it really shows. And the people that he is hunting on that show are the worst.
Is it more? Is it like Monster of the Week type of thing, or
with his story wrapped up into it, and it's so jam packed because it's so short.
That's kind of what I want, because
it is relentless. Okay. The best thing I can say about that show, and I would fight stronger if either of you guys had seen it, but I won't since I'm the only one who's seen it. It is relentless. The thing that he sees at a scene is horrifying, and then also there's this personal thing going on in his life that is terrible, and by the way, he's being hunted because he's bent the rules to put predators, molesters, serial killers away. Like, he bends the rules because he knows what's right is this person either dying by lethal injection or going away forever, so he'll bend those rules, but then that means that internal affairs and other people are always looking at him. So he's stressed 3 ways all the time. Every scene is unmissable. That show is great.
It's on my list. We can get rid of The Good Place.
Okay, tell me about it. Oh, is that Ted Danson?
Ted Danson
and Kristen
Bell?
Mm-hmm.
Ted Danson's hot. Wait, Kristen Bell's hot.
No.
You were right on both accounts. Actually.
Yeah, Ted Danson is a very attractive old man. That gray hair does something.
I don't.
Wig.
Again, like, this is another show that it's impossible to talk about without spoilers, so I'm just not going to talk about it. But that season 1, like the finale of season 1, ends in a direction that you will never have guessed.
How many episodes?
I don't know.
It's on a couple seasons. This is the second season.
It's on season 2 right now.
It must be good for a network show to be on here.
It's very good.
There's a few network shows.
There's a couple network shows. I'm sitting here going, why is that still on here? But maybe I'm missing something here.
Yeah. Maybe I just have a soft spot for the NBC comedies too.
Yeah, that's exactly the one I'm looking at here. Going, really?
Superstore.
That's the one I'm looking at because I tried that show.
Okay, here's a bold statement.
Okay.
Superstore might be my favorite TV show right now.
Oh my god. Okay, fine. It can stay on the list. I will say that
Does it need to stay then for now?
It doesn't need to stay because you guys haven't watched it, and I'm assuming you don't have any reverence for it.
I watched the first.
This is a collective list.
I'm surprised though. I didn't know that you liked it.
I watched the first few episodes of season 1. Tried to get into it.
Okay, it starts out a little slow.
Okay, because I was like, man, this show. It at first episode, I was like, it's got some promise. It could go somewhere. And then it just kind of
there have been lots of comedies that have had trouble like that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it for me is it's in this... we're in 2018 now, but in this 2017 world of awfulness, it's a safe place.
Okay, sure.
It's very brightly lit.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that.
It's even like, and you guys grew up in small town Illinois. Walmart is like a church in small town Illinois.
Yeah.
It's like... the place where everybody goes. It's a happy, warm place.
That was a weekend event to go to Walmart.
Yeah,
I mean
you're sitting at home bored out of your mind, and your dad goes, "Hey, I'm going to Walmart. You need anything? Oh, I'm going with."
I'm just going to stare at things.
Yeah, I'm just
right.
gonna walk around that store for a while.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with why I like that show so much. I also really like most of the characters on that show.
Okay.
It's not overly laugh out loud funny. I think it's just a very like warm, comforting place that I like to go to once a week.
Okay, that's fair.
We can take Into the Badlands off. Because you haven't seen
I haven't seen
two.
season 2 at all, no.
I think season 2 is better than season 1. Nick Frost joins the cast of that show.
Okay.
He's what's the guy's name from Star Trek and Shaun of the Dead?
Oh God, you were gonna ask me that.
Simon Pegg?
Simon Pegg, yeah.
Yeah, he's Simon Pegg's buddy.
I knew who Nick Frost was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's kind of a sidekick of the main character. He plays his sidekick role and adds some levity to that show, which is kind of needed. It needs some comic relief. But the fight scenes are still they're like jaw-dropping. I've never seen fight scenes of that quality on a television show. Still, the only place I've ever seen that is on that show. That stuff is reserved. Those type of budget scenarios are reserved for movies. So
I was having a little bit of trouble with the story, and I was wanting them to go places they just weren't going to. But I can't deny that the action is amazing in that show.
Yeah, it's not perfect. I like it a lot, but it can go.
Okay.
See, now we're getting the ball rolling here.
I know. I'm like,
Logan, how do you feel about Rick and Morty?
I like it. I think season 2 was better.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to let it go, I'm perfectly fine with letting it go.
Yeah, let's let it go.
Yeah. I like it.
I think maybe part of the reason that I don't have a lot of reverence for that show is because it's a cultural thing now. It's blown up way too big, and maybe I'm just being contrarian about that, but
it was cool back when it was like nobody was watching it.
If I hear one more person scream out "Pickle Rick," man.
Yeah, I mean, Pickle Rick was a great episode.
It was
like when because I watched it the night it aired, and I was like, man, this is really innovative and like just completely out there for this episode. But like, yeah, the way it's blown up, the Szechuan stuff, like I don't know, like I just want to watch a TV show. I'm happy about it.
And like I also feel like I almost feel dumb watching that show too, because afterwards you'll see on the internet like, oh my god, this whole episode was about string theory and this is why and it all makes sense, and I'm like, I don't understand any of this.
Dan Harmon actually likes to do that kind of stuff. Did you watch Community?
Yeah.
There's usually a theme behind all that stuff.
Yeah, Communities were a little less scientific, though.
Community was
and more,
for sure our 2014 show of the year, right? Collectively.
It might have been like 2013. I don't even know. It's been that long ago now.
It was really good, though.
I like that show a lot.
Well, until they lost
Donald Glover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, 2009 was when Community came out.
Wow.
So we're really old now
sucks.
at this point. Yeah, that sucks. You have a piece of cake.
Jason, how's Homeland this season? Sorry, you just took a piece of cake. I should not have asked you that.
I would say I like Homeland. I have not. I just had not caught up to this point.
I think you're just this one season behind.
I'm just the one season behind. Yeah. So I just for whatever we watched Homeland together for years.
6 episodes so far, so it can go. Just because I can't speak to it as a total work. Mm-hmm. It's pretty good.
It's good. I figured it's still good. Saul Berenson's still being Saul Berenson.
Okay.
That show is so watchable because of Claire Danes is a force of nature. Like, it's not even that the writing's that good or the direction of the show that good. It's just, she is fire. Like, everything about her character is believable. Like, the way she portrays that character is super earnest in every scene. Mm-hmm. Mandy Patinkin is great. Saul Berenson.
Mm-hmm. Out of 6 episodes, how many jazz freakouts?
1.
Just 1 so far? Okay.
Just 1. So this season is about Quinn and her mostly, but Quinn is scarred up. He's half of what he used to be, and he's
mentally,
because of the oxygen and the traumatic stuff that happened to him. He's basically tortured at the end of the last season, one character is. And so Carrier takes him in. Like, but he's broken. Like, he's not shape. He can barely walk. He can't talk. And it's like 6 episodes in, and he's still like, I don't know if they're going to bring his character back to what it was, but he's a shadow of himself where he used to be this, like, the covert op guy for the CIA.
Was the CIA badass.
Like, he's the spook for the CIA. He's a shadow of himself. And he's mad at Carrie because Carrie should have let him die. And it's really interesting. And they're working on domestic terrorism again, which is something that show did at the beginning of it. Then it kind of went overseas. And now they're back to domestic terrorism. And so it's found its balance. It's not perfect. It's not what it was in season 1 and 2. But it's very good, but it can go because I haven't finished it.
Those are the 2 seasons that I watched, and I've heard so many horrible things about season 3 that I can't bring myself to keep going.
3's tough. So, I think that they were really brave for what they tried in season 3, but
I still liked it.
It's just
You're the
not
only
even,
person I've ever heard that has said.
Yeah, I would say that I didn't dislike it, but it's just like such a.
It was when you're on such a high from season 1 and 2, it drops it down so far. I mean, even. I mean, you look at like Dexter, who they went from season 4, the pinnacle of television. If that's my point.
At that point in time, when you were watching TV, and if you were watching Dexter when it aired, there wasn't a whole lot of people that weren't talking about it.
Season 5 started the drop off, but it wasn't really until season 6 where it got really bad.
Yeah,
right?
5 was like this, and then 6 was like, what are we doing?
6 was a dumpster
was there
fire.
7? Or was
there
it
were
just
8?
There was 8?
There were 8 seasons of Dexter.
Ooh, we watched a lot of bad Dexter.
4 too many. Yeah.
It was season 8 was a slog.
So hey, Homeland, shout out to you. I like you a lot, but you can go.
Okay, so we should probably just talk about American Vandal now.
Yeah.
Since you just watched episode 1 today.
I literally watched it 4 or 5 hours ago.
That's the penis show, right? Tell me about the penis show.
Which I had no idea. And you immediately turn it on and it's just like this kid, like the first thing, it's like this weird documentary about this kid who drew a bunch of dicks on cars. Spray painted a bunch of dicks on all the teachers' cars.
Okay.
I was just like, what?
Yeah,
and it's all done documentary style.
It's very serious.
There's no jokes at all.
It's very funny because when they try to do a serious montage of the cars and it's all in black and white, and then you just see like spray painted dicks,
and like they go through a very elaborate sequence about describing how it couldn't have been this one guy who they keep wanting to, what's his name, Dylan?
Yeah,
they keep wanting to blame Dylan for it. And they were like, well, it couldn't have been Dylan because look at, they go back through the past history and they're looking at the shape of all the penises that he's drawn over the years. And they're like, look, he always puts ball hair on there. Like, and so
forensic analysis.
So it's like the 2 producers in a room, like with these pictures of graffiti dicks, and they're like, now if you look at this one over here, you see Dylan always draws the ball hair on here.
And like, and then they go to him and they take it to him and they're like, hey, like, what do you see as the difference here? He's like, well, I always put ball hair. And like, he's such a bro. And
that show goes some places too. Like, I don't want to ruin anything.
At the very end of the first episode, because there's like there's a guy who's basically saying like, oh yeah, Dylan did it, like of course, and he's like the witness, the star witness. But then come to find out, they're like, yeah, but he also said last summer that the hottest chick in school gave him a hand job.
So then they spend an entire episode trying to like prove or disprove that this guy got a hand job from this girl. Yeah. It's great.
I'm going to end up watching all of this.
I'm going to watch them all too.
There's only like 8 episodes.
I think it's like 8 episodes.
And they're only like half an hour long too.
Dang it.
So I think some of them might be like 40 minutes.
Sorry, American Vandal. Like, if I had watched it,
if you guys had watched it, I bet it would be on this list because it's freaking great.
Okay, but, all right.
Like, just the first episode, I was just like, oh my god. And like, they're not breaking. Like, I kept thinking it was going to just, like, at some point, this is going to
zoom out and everybody's going to giggle.
But like, they've got like weird, like, closed circuit camera footage of like the school board meetings where they're talking about all this stuff. And it's
very well produced.
It's extremely super well produced. Like, and like, the producers have got like, crime lines of stuff like, threads pointing from Dylan to this person and who hosted the news show.
In the episode where they're trying to figure out if this guy got a hand job or not, they have this like, they have this 3D diagram of like him on the dock with this girl, and it's like I don't even know how to describe it. Like, black and white, like 3D model type
diorama
thing. And it's like, here's the line of sight from this group of people. They couldn't have possibly seen it. Here's the line of sight from this group. They couldn't have possibly seen it. And the whole time they're going through this, it's just a guy and a girl sitting on the end of a dock, and the girl's hand is just moving up and down.
That sounds like a really tough tightrope act to walk.
Yeah.
Like, to make a mockumentary like that and have it pulled off is really impressive.
And it's all, I mean, you add it up, it's probably 4 hours long.
Right. They're doing a second season somehow. I don't know how they're going to... Well, I don't want to ruin anything, but I don't know how they're going to do a second season, but they are.
With all the same characters?
I think so.
Sorry, American Vandal.
Yeah,
it can go because of that fact that we haven't all watched it. But
I think maybe next time we talk, we can add it back into our top 10 somewhere.
Just from what I watched, I'm like, this is real interesting. What needs to go next?
Where you guys at on Big Little Lies?
I
didn't like Big Little Lies.
Love Big Little Lies. I think it's amazing and it deserves all the awards it's getting.
I think it's okay.
I thought it was really good.
I think it's a good soap.
I'm also a sucker for a soap opera.
Okay. Between Big Little Lies and Gotham, where are you?
Oh, if I had to pick one?
No, not necessarily. If you had to pick one, we're not going to force you.
What are the merits of each? I haven't finished this current season. I like season 3 a lot more than I like season 4 so far.
Because I think those are the two that you have left on the list.
Gotham's weird too because in an annual look at it, it's the second half of the previous season and the first half of the next season.
Right.
In an annual look,
but
so it's never a clean season.
But they are two distinct stories. Because the end of season 3 was its own separate storyline. Mm-hmm. They like to do that. They break up their seasons and do 2 separate storylines. Yeah. I agree with you. I think the early storyline of 2017 was better. The spring storyline versus the fall storyline was better. I still think it's a really great show that every time it surprises me and how much I like it.
I like it a lot too.
Have the child actors progressed in their acting skills? Okay. That's what really turned me off during season 1.
I'm not saying they're good, but they have gotten better.
They're watchable.
Bruce still, and I don't know if it's the actor or if it's the way he's written. Bruce still sucks. And
this, like, they're going down Bruce's training path. Bruce is brutal. The rest of everyone else on the show is great, but even Bruce's story is not bad. It's just
that's what
that poor kid.
The only thing is like Alfred saves it because
if he wasn't sharing that screen time with that kid, it would be
it would be awful. Yeah,
that's what attracted me to that show in the first place. Was like, here's a show about Gotham City. It's not about Batman, and then all of a sudden you get a bunch of Batman. Well,
I feel like even as season 4 has gone on, they have realized real fast that was going nowhere, and I don't know how far you are into it, but they gave up on it.
Yeah, and then the pig stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they're
back to Jim and the pig and Bullock, and from what I remember. And
there's another bad that shows up too.
That shows up after pig.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not that far.
And so it gets a lot better. The last few episodes of that were really good, and have you gotten to the point where Bruce is no longer fighting crime?
No. I just got there.
Okay.
He just hung it up.
Like he gave up finally.
Yeah, he just hung it up.
And that's where it finally it's like, okay, thank God. Like
we can get back to what's good about this show.
And now you get a conflict between him and Alfred, and that's actually good.
Okay. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like the girl that plays Selena is pretty good.
Yeah, she's always been good. I thought
not in season 1. She's not.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. But she's like maybe compared to where Bruce is at. Yeah. Like Selena, like that, she's really you're not offended by her the way you are Bruce, but Bruce is still like
maybe it's just
causes you to cringe when
you look in comparison.
I'm just comparing the two, and there's not much worse than that guy.
Does Gotham need to stay, Logan, or no?
Does Gotham stay in a top 10?
Yeah.
For me, it does, but if you're not as much into it, then that's.
I'm just having
fine.
trouble with the rest of the stuff on this
I'm looking at
list.
this list.
I mean, you guys. I mean, we're to the point now where I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6
I mean, you
things
still
left
have
on
stuff.
a list of 17. So, and for me, there's only going to be 2 things I fight for on this list really hard.
Okay.
Let's leave it for right now because there's at least one more thing that I can cut. I'm gonna cut The Leftovers season 3. I think that show. I watched all 3 seasons earlier in 2017, and I think that show is really, really high quality. I'm happy that people have told me to stick with it because in the beginning it's a little bit like this is not going anywhere. But I'll tell you, in the very last episode, Carrie Coon gives like a 10-minute monologue. And it is like if we're talking like most compelling 10-minute stretch of a TV show from 2017, that might be it. It's really great. And the weird part is she got nominated for an Emmy for Fargo and not The Leftovers, even though she was way better in The Leftovers.
You think she was? I thought she was fire in Fargo.
She was fire in Fargo. That's how good she was on The Leftovers.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, it can go, especially because I'm the only one that watched it, and I thought that there were parts of that season 2 that kind of dragged. So. I guess I'm not going to fight too hard for Veep. I thought this was this is the first season that's been a down season for them. Every other season has kind of built on itself.
Also, she's just collecting Emmy
Yeah.
after Emmy after Emmy for that show.
And that's why I don't like it. I honestly don't watch it
Because it's
because
good? I don't understand.
because I'm just like, does she really need to win every damn year? I don't know.
Yeah, with the performance she gives, yes.
Okay, like
It's got some John Hamm
well-deserved.
descent
well,
going
no,
on.
actually, it's because I've never liked Seinfeld,
Oh, okay.
and I never liked her on Seinfeld. So I've just ever since then I've just been like
Way different character.
Julia Louis Dreyfus. And that's I mean, that's on me. But so it's not on her. That's on me.
Okay, so if I needed to pick between the stuff that I've only watched left, I think I share a watch with you guys except for 2 of these.
You have left the
The
ones that I'm seeing
Crown.
for just you are The Americans, The Crown, and The Defiant Ones.
Oh, sorry, 3 then. I apologize. I guess The Crown can go. Talk about soaps. The Crown's really good. It's shot really well. It's really well acted. It's gorgeous.
I can't bring myself to watch it. It just for whatever reason looks boring to me, and I don't
Me
know
too.
why.
I understand why. No, I get it. It's not. I think it's like it's a visual feast every time I watch it. It's shot really well. The costume design is done really well. John Lithgow is unbelievable in that first season. His performance is really like it's what carries it. It makes me wonder how much attention the second season will get with his Winston Churchill around. But his Winston Churchill is, dude, it's some of the finest acting I've seen on a TV show ever. It's incredible.
That doesn't surprise me from him.
Well,
I mean,
because it's him, right?
Yeah.
But it was really, it's not he's the goofball from 30 Rock.
Right.
He's the Trinity Killer, but Dexter is kind of like a moving graphic novel sometimes. Like it's not grounded in reality.
You know, that actually makes me kind of want to watch it a little bit more because I just watched Darkest Hour, which is
dude,
Gary Oldman plays Winston Churchill, and he is fantastic.
And the part that happens in an episode
okay
of The Crown, and it's great, but also it gives you like how the monarchy is responding to this stuff, and it is. It's hard for me to see that show go because it is such high bar television.
That's a Netflix show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it was expensive. You can tell it was expensive, and Lithgow is incredible. But you guys didn't watch it, so I'm willing to let that one go over
and
other
stuff. This is another case of it being our collective list.
Yeah, sure.
So.
Yeah, no, and that's why I understand it.
In that vein, I think I'll I'll get rid of Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's the last thing I think the last thing I have left that only I have watched.
And I remember you even saying you were down on this season.
No, I was.
Oh, really? I thought you said you were down on this season.
No, this
Maybe
season
it was somebody else that I heard it was down on this season.
It is probably my favorite full season of that show. It's amazing. And just even from I love the way that Larry David is able to establish it's like an awkward situation or something minor at the beginning of an episode, and then do a callback way late in the episode that comes all the way full circle with every plot point that he's had.
Yeah,
and he does that. And the amazing thing about this season is he does that for a full season. Like the first thing that happens in the season relates to the last thing in the season, and he brings it all full circle.
How many episodes?
10.
10?
Yeah.
I've always wanted to watch that show. I've just never watched it.
I've watched it, and I've been actually going back through some of the older stuff and watching it, and I'm on like season 3 at this point. But for me, as a person who absolutely hated Seinfeld and still does, I really like Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I think that's some people probably think I'm insane.
Yeah, that's a little surprising, actually.
A lot of people say that. I've heard that actually said before, that like Jerry was the weakest part of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And some people say like it was great to see Larry David's brilliance shine without Jerry.
Yeah.
That's so maybe that's what you didn't like about it.
Yeah, see, I just didn't care for
people actually shaving in there.
Yeah, it was,
people don't talk like that shit, and Logan kicks his TV. God.
Like, I don't know. Maybe it was just a place and time thing for me.
Okay, so we still need to cut 3 shows from this list.
What we haven't talked about a lot of these.
No, we haven't.
Let's talk about.
Let's just rattle off. Let's rattle them off. So American Dad, Better Call Saul, Big Little Lies, Fargo, Game of Thrones, Glow, Gotham, Mr. Robot, Stranger Things, The Americans, The Defiant Ones, The Deuce, and Twin Peaks.
Jason, where do you stand on Game of Thrones from this year? That's the one that kind of sticks out to me. I liked this season a lot. I think it's one of the better seasons they've done. I know I'm contrary to popular belief on that. A lot of people
I
hated
like this season too a lot.
I think they finally picked up the pace a little bit, and it doesn't just seem like people are always it's just scene after scene of 2 people in a room talking.
I think there was some nice fan service in it, and not ham-fisted fan service, like dealt with the appropriate kid gloves that they should have been held with.
Yeah.
But it's not like Battle of the Bastards and Hard Home.
Right.
Like, this isn't that season, right?
No. Or wait. Is it?
No, it was last season.
You're right.
Those were the 2 episodes from last season where you finally see the Windwalkers, and they go to war with the Windwalkers, and then the Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah.
So having it progress is just so rewarding, you know. Having it finally moving,
these people on different continents
converging one another. Yeah. There's that nice scene with the White Walker where everyone is in the same spot, and you're like, if a comet dropped on all these people, then just this war's over, you know, because they're all there finally in one place. I think there's something to be said for that for the fans of the show. But there are things that I want to fight harder for on this list.
Me too.
Okay.
So we should probably just get rid of it.
That's our collective show that has to go.
Okay. That was surprising.
I'm not happy about it, and I know you're not super enthused about it either, but there are other things.
I know we don't do a list.
I'm just looking at the rest of the stuff on here, and I'm like, really? You guys really liked Twin Peaks that much better than...
Yes.
Twin Peaks is incredible.
Okay, thank you. I thought you were going to say something else.
No, Twin Peaks it's maddening, it's frustrating, it's awesome, it's terrible, it's great, that show it's any kind of an emotional reaction you can have about a TV show, it forces you to have.
Well, think of any adjective right now, any single adjective, and you've described Twin Peaks.
Okay.
It's
erotic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in spots, absolutely.
Boner
inspiring.
My wife recently watched all of the original Twin Peaks.
Season 2 is rough.
And I was kind of watching it in bits and pieces with her, and boy, was that show weird as shit.
Oh, yeah. And
you have no idea. So, two Twin Peaks. Are we doing? We'll do Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Let's do Twin Peaks now.
Talk about it. Yeah. It may not get cut, but it's getting talked about.
It's gotta stay. So we'll talk about the merits of Twin Peaks. that show, when it started, was on ABC in a primetime slot. Mm-hmm. And it was pitched as a murder mystery and was delivered as something completely different in the mid-90s. I don't know how it ever got on TV.
How did any of those executives never see any David Lynch movie and then be like, oh yeah, he'll be good with this?
What are they? Yeah, it's incredible. It still blows my mind to this day that it was ever on network television. Yeah. It's bizarre. It's hard to follow. You're not supposed to be able to follow it. It was supposed to be this grounded FBI agent who comes to town as a go-get-em young guy who's looking into who killed this poor young teenager. And it goes places.
The show's weird as hell.
It is. And then the return is...
But somehow,
dude, if you think that's weird, the return is... There is an episode where Nine Inch Nails performs for like 7 minutes, and the rest of the episode is abstract. It's arbitrary. There's no explanation. It still could be argued 8 different ways, 20 different ways what it was about, and there's nothing totally grounded or tangible about it. It is a crap show.
There's a almost 10-minute scene on that show of a person sweeping a floor.
Yeah, it's 7.5.
7.5 minutes of a person sweeping a floor.
Having said all that, look, it's just so... It's so crazy.
I don't understand how he does it exactly, but he makes certain characters so endearing.
Yeah.
That you really want to root for them.
Yeah.
You really want Cooper to succeed, and like the sheriff and everyone in the police station. You just
I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to do this real quick.
Okay.
Dale Cooper is the FBI agent from the first 2 seasons. He's investigating the death of Laura Palmer. Dale, Laura. Laura is murdered or not in an alternate dimension. We'll call it an alternate dimension. Dale figures that out. He learns of the alternate dimension. Dale walks into the alternate dimension.
Let me one step back.
Go ahead.
The alternate dimension, Laura was murdered by an entity called Bob.
Bob. Yes, Bob is like a demon, we'll call him, from the other dimension.
Yeah.
And Bob gets loose into our dimension. So Dale kind of is going back and forth. And then Bob gets a hold of Dale at the end of the 2nd season. And that's how the show ended 25 years ago?
Whatever years ago.
Bob got a hold of Dale at the end of the... Okay.
Yeah, so the main character is now inhabited by the demon that killed Laura. You follow? Do you follow?
I got it. Well, it was originally by her dad, right? Bob was inside of...
You got it.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And that's why, as soon as he had the breakdown or whatever, his hair turned white, because Bob was no longer there.
I never noticed that his hair turned white during that, because he was in they locked him in the cell and everything.
So you're with it.
I know. Yeah, I know the gist.
So that's Bob.
So season 3 is all about in order to inhabit Cooper's body, Bob had to send Cooper's soul or whatever to the other dimension. So it's kind of like Cooper trying to get back.
So Cooper starts stuck in the bad dimension. The Black Lodge is what they call it. But he's in this, and they spend way more time in here. We'll call this the alternate dimension, the Black Lodge, the bad area, more or less, instead of out here where they spent 2 seasons of Twin Peaks mostly. Yeah. This season, in here.
Yeah.
And in here, it's not the real world. It's insane, Logan. It's crazy. It's out of its mind. It doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to make sense because it's crazy in there.
To try to draw a similarity here, is this kind of
no?
Well, is this alternate
chance.
universe like a wacky version instead of a scary version of the Upside Down? And then there's a person who the monster that inhabited Will
from Stranger Things.
Right,
we're talking about.
Right? Yeah,
they're different.
Yeah.
Upside Down is almost a mirror, like a mirrored reflection, where these things inhabit a mirrored reflection.
Right. Yeah.
This thing is not a mirror. It's not the Upside Down. It's not a reflection.
It doesn't.
It's not a mirror. Okay.
Yeah, it's not the lake reflection thing you're picturing. It's not. It is like its own thing. It has its own set of rules, and whatever's going on there may be some good entities. There may be some bad entities, but when the worlds mix, it's something is wrong and it's bad. And it's basically about the two Dales. There's the demon Dale who's out there.
Well,
and then,
3 Dales.
Well, yeah. And then there's good Dale. And then there's third Dale.
There's Dougie Jones.
He inhabits the body of an insurance salesman. Mm-hmm. But when he comes back, he's not. He doesn't understand. He's catatonic. Yeah. He's totally catatonic. So he spends in a frustratingly so way. Mm-hmm. People are looking at the Dale Cooper from 32 episodes of television from the first 2 seasons that they know and love and has catchphrases. Mm-hmm. They're looking at him like this.
And maybe occasionally saying coffee. And that's it. Like, that's all you get.
Dougie.
And
he can only repeat words he says. He can't. So when someone says a word like Dougie.
And Naomi Watts takes care of him for like this long stretch of time.
It's that character's wife. So he inhabits Dougie Jones. He falls on the floor. He comes to, and he's not the same guy. But people treat him as the same guy. Yeah. Like in this world,
why did no one take him to a hospital?
No one cares. It's insane. Like people talk at this character, and he's just like,
yep,
just sitting there, and no one cares. But I want to say one thing about that show, and then we can be done talking about it. The Dew brothers, so Jim Belushi and the guy who played T-Bag on Prison Break.
Right, sure.
I don't know that actor's name. They play the two casino owners. So when Dougie comes to, or when Dale comes to, he immediately catatonically walks into a casino and he wins. All he does is win. He just wins. What does he keep saying?
He sees a little ghost thing that hovers over like a winning slot machine, and then he just goes over to it.
Yeah, and he just keeps winning. And it's not jackpot. He says a word every time, and it's for 45 minutes. It's just him, they're telling a story, he's winning jackpot. So that's where we get introduced to the casino owners.
Yeah. Later
on, they go to that character's house where the hitman and hitwoman are killed at the end of the season. And there's a character that rolls up on these two characters. No one knows who this guy is, but she shoots around at him, and then he runs into their car. They try to drive away. He pulls out an automatic, little Uzi 9 thing, puts a bullet in both of them. This character has never been around until he showed up. This random person murdered these two characters that have been on the show the entire season. Shows up for 2 seconds, kills them. And those two guys are just watching it, Jim Belushi. And the funniest thing I think he's ever said on television, what kind of neighborhood is this? People are under a lot of stress, Bradley. He just watched 3 people get murdered in the street.
And people are under a lot of
stress, Bradley. And that, I don't know why, it was the funniest line of the show to me. It's insane. It's worth watching as long as you sign up for knowing that you have no control. Like, you have no control. So it stays.
So it definitely
stays.
Okay,
I didn't know. I asked a question. I found the answer.
Sorry. No, it's good. It's good and it's bad and it's crazy. You won't forget it. Mm-hmm. You can't forget it.
Okay. You really feel strongly about the Defiant Ones?
What's the Defiant Ones?
It's the documentary about Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre on HBO. I think it's really good. I think it's probably the best documentary I saw this year.
Does a documentary count as a TV show?
If it doesn't, that's fine. But
that'd be my.
Is it episodic?
There's 4 of them.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean the O.J. Simpson thing won all kinds of TV awards.
But it was but it won Best Documentary. Not American Crime Story was a drama.
Yeah, I think it counts, but I'm curious to hear if Jason thinks it belongs on the list or not.
I don't. I mean, it's just. I guess that would be my only thought. Is just does it qualify just for the fact of is it shot like a documentary or is it are there actors?
No, it's a documentary.
Okay,
it's a documentary.
That would be my only. That'd be my thing. Is if are there people acting or is it a documentary? If you put all 4 episodes into a thing, would it be like how long would it be? 4 hours? Or
6 hours.
6 hours. That's a long show. That's a long thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We've never set rules to this.
Yeah, this is pretty arbitrary anyway. So
that'd be my only thought. It can win documentary of the year.
You're just wanting him to cut this so you can keep Gotham and Big Little Lies.
I'd cut the Deuce before that.
No.
Does it get better? Can we talk about the Deuce, I guess?
How far are you?
2.5 episodes in.
And you don't like it?
Let's put it this way.
If you don't like it by now, you're not going to like it.
I like all of the parts that don't involve James Franco. I think that's the least interesting part of that show. And I think all of the prostitutes and everything else that's going on, I think the pimps, I think all of that is very intriguing and it's got a very good storyline. Maybe I'm just not seeing it yet.
I will say, like, James Franco has less and less scenes as the show goes on.
And I just find that their weird story.
Have you met his twin?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the first episode. Did
they introduce his twin in the first episode?
Because I was shocked. I was like, oh, they're gonna have this character on here
because they keep mentioning him.
Yeah,
right?
they mention him, but he never shows up. And he just shows up.
Yeah, because he gets hit up by those guys right at the beginning, and they're like, "Oh, you always told this money." And he's like, "Nah, you made my brother."
I will say, at times it is maybe a little confusing which one is on the screen. But they do a really good job of saying the name of the person. It's
always like Vincent. Yeah. You'll get to know Vincent because Vincent like carries him. I think the way James Franco plays those twins is incredible.
I do too.
I just don't find the story of that intriguing at all for me. That was.
I don't know if that show's for you.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, if you're this far in and you're not hooked, then.
Because I think it's excellent, but I don't know if you're gonna like it.
I felt like I was kind of just meh on it for whatever reason.
It's an HBO show. It's like The Wire. It's like The Sopranos. It doesn't need to do anything for you. You're along for the ride, and it's documenting human experience, human condition, it doesn't care what you think of it.
Yeah.
Is it one that's gonna go farther than is this a contained story or is this
it'll keep going?
There is a second season on the way. 8 episodes first season.
Yeah, but I don't think it's out until like 2019 or something ridiculous.
Yeah. It's because it's so like the character design, the costume design, the set design. That show looks expensive.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it definitely. That's for sure.
Until the time that goes
I'm sitting there as I'm watching that show going, okay, what time of day did they shoot this? Like, is it 3 a.m? They blocked off this street to set up. I mean, you'll see it in Chicago sometimes where late night, they'll block off a section of the street. They'll throw new signs up on places and bring in old cars just to set up times, a place and time. And to do that in New York City, I don't know if that's where they're doing it, but I mean, because there's sections that look like they are, but you can do that in Toronto probably if you really need to.
So we need to cut 2 of these.
The Defiant ones can go. I'm the only one watching. Okay.
But and it wins Best Documentary.
Congratulations to the Defiant one.
I need to watch The Americans. There's so many episodes of that show. It's intimidating.
This was what, season 5, 6? Okay.
5. We're going into 6, and this is the final season.
I fell off midway through season 4, and not due to the show. I think I couldn't keep it. But when I'm sitting down to watch a show, it's usually late at night, and the pacing of that show makes me fall asleep. That's the only thing that I would give it, because when the moments are there, the moments are amazing, but the pacing sometimes can get me.
Man, I gotta take you guys' word for Gotham because I haven't watched the latest seasons, but man, I don't see how that show compares to the rest of this list. Even Big Little Lies, there's a quality factor there that I just don't think Gotham has.
Where does Gotham land against Glow? I haven't watched Glow. That's your guys' show.
I loved Glow.
I think Glow's really good.
Okay. How many episodes of Glow?
Like 10-ish.
Yeah, 10, and they're like 30 to 40 minutes. They're not that long. I'm looking at the rest of this list and seeing if there's. Jason, let me rattle off some of the episodes of American Dad from this year because I was actually incorrect about a couple of the shows that were part of 2017.
Okay.
The Father's Day episode was actually last year.
Okay.
It was 2016.
Okay.
If I'm looking at just to give you Clodger was this episode, was this season, and that was a really good episode where Roger and Klaus decide to have a relationship and constantly have sex all the time. And
So good.
that was real funny, but as I'm looking through the rest of the episodes of this season, it might be one of the weaker seasons. The other one, The Life and Times of Stan Smith, was another one where Stan he kept becoming addicted to near-death experiences, and he kept ended up in Blockbuster videos.
It can go.
You would really rather cut American Dad than Gotham?
I would not, but if Logan really
I wanted to throw that on there as a thing to pull against Gotham. At this point, then I think if I had to choose American Dad over Gotham, I'm going to choose American Dad. Just be at the same time. I mean, I love Gotham, and it's one of my favorite shows. But
is it okay? Yeah, is it like? Is it your superstore? Is it your comfort food type of thing?
I think it's better than that.
Okay.
I would say my comfort food is is a Family Guy, Simpsons type of thing.
Okay.
South Park for me, because I'll watch any episode from any point in time and be happy with it. But yeah, I still think. But I'm also a sucker for anything Batman.
I just feel like, okay, if we're down to American Dad versus Gotham, I feel like Jason loves American Dad. You love American Dad. I like American Dad.
Right.
You love Gotham. Jason seems indifferent. I just haven't watched it.
I like Gotham.
Yeah, I don't know if you're indifferent on it.
I like Gotham. Just for the
But
record.
as compared to the other things on this list, you'd rather see Gotham go versus anything else.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Take it off.
Okay. That gives us our 10.
Because especially since you guys were more passionate about the Deuce.
I thought the Deuce would end up pretty high on our list, but if you're low on it, then maybe it won't be as high as I thought.
I don't know if I'm that low on it. It's just I guess at the same time, I'm from where I'm at. I don't know if I care to finish it.
Like I said, I don't know if it's for you.
Okay, how do we go about ordering this?
American Dad barely made the list.
So it's 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
Let's see. Let's do this.
As we're looking at this, I guess.
Can you just make columns with 1, 2, 3 down?
Yeah,
because you have the computer.
You want to say these in any
while you're doing that, I'll read them.
Okay.
So our top 10 unordered so far are American Dad, Better Call Saul, Big Little Lies, Fargo, Glow, Mr. Robot, Stranger Things, The Americans, The Deuce, and Twin Peaks.
Pretty good list.
I guess let's look at some other things that, as when I said Big Little Lies, I kind of got a response.
Okay, so I see what you did.
So are you guys not as high on that?
No, I'm
not as high on that show as I am on other things on this list.
Okay. I'm pretty high on it, but I didn't, if there was a definite meh.
I think maybe, unfortunately, it might just be, well, I don't know. Never mind. I had a point, but it doesn't work.
The only other thing that I would even venture to say to put lower is, and the only thing is just because only one of us watched it, would be The Americans.
That's the point I was going to make, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be low.
No, it doesn't. But
I would say, as the person that's watched The Americans, I like The Americans quite a bit, and I think it's arguably as far as shows that are running, maybe the best show on TV. But I really like the rest of this stuff besides Glow.
And that's just because you haven't seen it.
Right. And I don't. And much like we say, I don't think Glow's for me.
I think Glow could be towards the bottom of this list too.
I'm okay with that.
Maybe put Glow at 9 for right now.
Okay.
And then we can put The Americans at 8. If I can deal with The Americans being on the second half of this list.
Would it be your number one show?
Let me look at this.
Where did Nier Automata fall on our game of the year? Since it was your number one game.
That's why I was about to bring up the point as it should be low because only one watched it. But then again, Nier ended up at 5, and I was.
Did it end up at 5?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember where it ended up. Okay, that was my question of the day. I was like, wait a minute, where did that end up? Like, in all comparisons,
it would probably be number 2.
Okay. I mean, we don't have to put it at 8 yet if you don't want to.
We talked about this a little bit, but what about where's the list at? I'm sorry, did you relocate it?
No, it's in the same spot.
You're just numbering them.
We're just numbering them on the side. So, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else that you guys watched that you would rank lower, since I have 5 things on this list that I even know about.
The only thing I would say right now, for me personally, this number 8 would come down to Big Little Lies versus The Americans. Those are the 2 on this list that I'm not super, really into.
I would say Big Little Lies 8, The Americans 7. And then I would shut up about The Americans.
But does that short shaft Big Little Lies for you, Logan?
It does, because I think it's probably my number 2 show of the year. But at the same time, if your number 2 show gets shafted for mine, I mean that's not a
whatever. They're right next to each other, but that's fine with me because I'm the only one that watched The Americans, so it can be 8.
Okay,
that's fine. I don't want to. I think that the internet will take care of The Americans for me.
Yeah,
I don't need to argue for The Americans.
When I eventually do get around to watching The Americans, we'll come back to this and we'll move it up the list.
It's very good. It's very, very good.
I mean, I used to watch it. I don't disagree with you.
I do understand though how you could fall asleep to that show. It's a lot of dialogue, and there are some bombshells dropped in that dialogue, but it's also like
there's also a lot of sitting in cars, being quiet. I mean, in all reality, yeah, it is. There's a lot of that. At the same time, though, from where I ended with that show, I kind of want to just maybe go through and watch the beginning of every episode and go last time on The Americans and just see oh, okay, that's cool.
I'll bet you there's a super cut of that somewhere.
I would honestly rather watch that sometimes. I'm oh, okay, cool. That's what happened there. I just kind of want to see what happened with everybody, the daughter and everything else. That it's I just want that show to almost be done and over with for me because I liked all the characters and everything, but I just couldn't keep going.
Should we put the Deuce at 6?
Sure.
That's on you guys.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I think I like the other 5 more. Right? We have Better Call Saul, Fargo, Mr. Robot, Stranger Things, and Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I'm willing to say that's a good call.
Okay. Speaking of calls, where does that go? Oh.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's on you guys. I have one dog left in the fight, so I may have a demagogue left in the fight.
A demodog.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say from here, and Jason, feel free to disagree with me, but I say it would be Fargo next. I think Fargo season 3 is awesome, but I don't think it holds a candle to seasons 1 or 2.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. You guys better fucking like Glow a lot. You better like Glow a shitload. Glow better be
What? It's at number 9.
No, it needs to be gone. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I think that you're right. Fargo season 3 is it's really good, but it's not as good as the other. That's a weird thing, like Sins of the Father kind of a thing.
Like it just didn't meet the expectations, maybe, but
that's okay.
It's still really, really.
We
good.
can put that on there. Oh boy.
Do I need to justify Glow now? I feel like there's...
No, I'm kidding. I'm teasing you.
There's Alison Brie's boobs in the first minute.
Number 1 on the list then.
I mean, that's as good as you would hope for.
No.
Actually.
Yeah, they're not as bad as Maggie Gyllenhaal's.
No, that's true.
Actually another part of the Deuce that I'm like, good God, those are awful.
I will say though that if there is a female actress on that show, no matter what role they play, you will eventually see their boobs.
That's true.
Just wait. Yeah, just wait.
Yeah. Just wait long enough and you'll see.
Yeah, that's it.
Put both of those higher. Nudity. Oh boy.
Okay. I hate to just like keep putting out my personal opinions on this, but I would say number 4 of the 4 that are left would be Mr. Robot. Or I could also see Better Call Saul there.
Can you explain to me why you would choose that over the other?
Okay, so Mr. It's just so weird to compare those two shows.
They're way different
very.
than each other.
So Mr. Robot brings in a lot of new characters for season 3, and they're all great. It goes back to being... Season 2 got a little out there as far as like what's real and what's not type of thing, and season 3 kind of grounds it a lot more, which I think is...
With the FBI swooping in the way they are, and it feels like each character is under a tremendous amount of stress.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And weirdly enough, we
lost some characters in some very hard ways in season 4. Not...
You mean 3?
Sorry, no, 4. I mean 4.
Wait, what show are you talking about?
I'm talking about Mr. Robot.
Season 4 has not happened yet.
Season 3. Wait, are we talking about both season 3? They're both on season 3 this year?
Yeah,
sorry. I'm late. I'm tired. I think the stakes were higher in Mr. Robot this year than they were in Better Call Saul. I think eventually Saul is going to get there.
And I think for me personally, and the reason that I switched those two is because in a show I value characters over plot more. But that's just a preference thing. I could see this really going either way.
I don't really care either. I really don't.
Logan,
like as long as they're kind of next to each other, I think that's fine with me.
Which of those two shows, which would you be more likely to watch?
I would be more likely to watch Mr. Robot.
Then let's put Mr. Robot in number. I think it's really that close.
Yeah, I think highly of both of those, but I would give the edge to Mr. Robot.
So that just leaves, and I think this 2-1 is easy. Like we did it.
Yep, Stranger Things is number 1, and Twin Peaks is number 2.
Unless you have a major objection, Jason.
Perfect.
No,
perfect.
That's exactly what I was hoping for here, because Stranger Things is incredible in season 2.
It really
it's great.
is. It really
good.
Except there's one episode that sucks.
There's the one episode that really sucks. That's what, episode like 7? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And everybody knows what it is, and it has no purpose. Unless it has something to do with season 3. But boy, that episode had no purpose. I
was like, at the end of the last episode, I was like in tears. I didn't want it to end.
I didn't either. That was the same way. I was like,
really
man,
good.
Like this is like
you're really attached to that show.
Yeah, those kids are so good. You just don't expect child actors to be that good at their jobs and that to care about them that much. It's and
that's exactly like one of my pet peeves with TV shows, especially like shows like Gotham, is bad child acting. And this show has none of it.
I don't know how the Duffer Brothers got it out of them.
I don't know how.
And those kids are just as awkward
kids,
as any other kid. And did you guys watch any of the Beyond Stranger Things? I watched all of those.
I didn't know.
And they talk about each individual episode. They talk to them about their characters. The Duffer Brothers sit in on, I think, on almost all of them. Jim Rash hosts it.
Oh, okay.
Those are, and they're short too. They're like the first few are 30 minutes, but then the rest of them are like 15 to 20. Like, so they're bite-sized and they're really interesting, and they talk a lot about the show, references. The kids get to speak their piece, and they're normal kids too. It's like they're awkward and they giggle and they stutter, and it's whatever the Duffer Brothers do to get that out of them is incredible. Also, that show has one director throughout all the episodes, which I think is really
okay. That explains a lot.
I don't know why shows do that. Why they change directors all the time.
He sits in a lot too. I don't know his name, but he's talking.
It's because of scheduling. Like TV shows are kind of all over the place, so you got to take a director where you can get them.
Wow,
a lot of times.
Yeah, and it shows in different shows, obviously, and that's. But yeah, having and maybe that's why when you see these more episodic, or I don't know, not episodic, but these, shows, they're just in these, like, here, there's 7 to 10 episodes. They have a more consistent director and they do better instead of having to cram 22 episodes in and figure out, and you can obviously tell that there's not as much continuity between them. I think that I like when they do that as shows. I'm really surprised you guys didn't like Big Little Lies as much.
I thought the first episode was just boring. I don't know.
I think that show is a good soap.
Yeah.
It's hard, Log, because we watched a lot of these other shows and you didn't, and that's not necessarily fair.
Well, I just figured. I mean, I honestly thought you'd like it better as a murder mystery type show. Even is the
See, I didn't necessarily really like the. Because you don't even know who was murdered.
But that's the point. Is the whole time you don't even know who got murdered, and you're trying to figure out who was murdered.
Those people that are talking like as they're interviewed, like no one talks like that. It was a little bit like this is weird. Like no one would actually say things like that. But then the weirdest thing happened. Like no one actually would sit there and talk with that dialogue.
I guess I never thought. I thought it was all just them talking shit about them. I never felt like it was a lead in to something. It was. That's just how I saw it as more. But
that bothered me. But I can appreciate the acting on that show. It's very good.
The acting in that show is superb. That is for sure. But okay, well, let's rattle off our top 10 here. Number 10.
Can we order those in the tabs or no?
I can go that way. I can read them, I think.
Okay. It's fine.
Because the sort functions in this don't exactly.
Yeah, you can just click down.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. Number 10 is American Dad. Number 9, Glow. The Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. Number 8, The Americans. Number 7, Big Little Lies. Number 6, The Deuce. Number 5, Fargo, Season 3. What does it have a subtitle?
No.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes they do. Number 4, Better Call Saul. Number 3, Mr. Robot. Number 2, Twin Peaks.
The Return.
Twin Peaks, The Return.
There you go. There's your subtitle.
There, I was like, there's a return. There's a subtitle somewhere. And Stranger Things
2. Yeah, just 2.
Yeah.
Is it? Do they have a 2 on it?
That's how it intros.
Yeah.
It's just a 2.
Yeah, it's not season 2, but
the music. We didn't even talk about the music.
It's incredible. Everything about that show is great.
Yeah,
Everything
I mean, and they actually, you can go on Spotify and stuff and just play the music.
Yeah.
And just the random undertone music of that show is, I think it's the next to last episode, the end music of I think episode 9. It's just intense as shit, but it's got it's got that weird 80s synth thing going.
Yeah, the synthwave thing really works for that show. It really does.
The time and
then it
place
just goes right into the time and place setting, right? And then the way that everything looks and feels and the characters, we're all the Ghostbusters, and God, it's so good. It's so good.
We didn't talk a ton about Better Call Saul or Fargo, but we talked a ton about those earlier in the year. So
I want to say what makes Fargo this season really stand out to me are 2 things. The twins. We got the twins theme again. Better twin, Franco or Ewan McGregor? Better twin performance, Caleb. Emmett and Ray Stussey's pretty good. Yeah, Emmett and Ray, totally different guys.
Yeah.
Different ways they carry themselves, different characters, really good. So yeah, Ewan McGregor probably plays twin brothers.
Did he get nominated for that?
I don't think so.
I don't think he did.
And then the guy who plays Varga, who is more or less the devil on earth.
That guy's great.
Dude, every time, like a character walks into the room and they think they have advantage on him, and they leave and realize like there's nothing they could do to manipulate this guy. He's already outmaneuvered them.
Yep.
It's very good. It's very good. We didn't talk about it very much, so I was thinking about that. The other thing we didn't talk about a lot was Mr. Robot.
We talked about it a little bit. But.
Yeah, there is a sense of dread on that show that really I haven't felt watching a TV show since maybe Breaking Bad. Like,
and this season, I think we finally got to a point where you can understand what's going on and who the players are,
major players
who the
are,
good guys are, who the bad guys are.
What's the resolution in all of this? Yeah. And
season 4 is going to hopefully conclude all of that.
I hope so. We'll see. That's a show that reminds me, like, they could have easily gone off the rails, but they've stayed. Right. They've stayed on. They've stayed controlled, and they still have places to go.
Best performance by an actor in a limited series or motion picture made for television. The winner this year was Ewan McGregor for Fargo.
Yay! Oh, wow. Excellent. I didn't know that. Was that an Emmy? Yes?
Golden Globe.
Golden Globe. Because the Emmys haven't happened yet.
Well, it depends on when...
when they're classified. But he won a Golden Globe? That's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. But yeah, I think we talked a lot about Twin Peaks. No need to talk about Twin Peaks. And Stranger Things, we all agree, is the best show of 2017.
I think so.
That show's really good.
We got to clean up this giant pile of cake.
There's so much cake.
Love you, cake.
We poured out so much cake.
Oh man, I'm gonna take a piece of this to drive home. Give me some energy here. All right.
That's a good call.
Well, that has been your 2017
Thanks,
TOTYs. Everybody. Enjoy. Watch some stuff in 2018, I guess.
Enjoy the cake.
Maybe I'll go back and watch Breaking Bad. We'll find out in January of 2019 if I actually watch Breaking Bad.